Guess who's back, buddies? Yes, Concert Buddy. Back making another video. It's been a minute since my last video. And to be honest, it was a minute before that video. And maybe I'll talk more about that at another time, but that is not this time. This time, I am here to share my experience. I took the metal steel bird up to New York City to the WFMU Record Fair, record show, record extravaganza. I just consider it a buffet of black wax goodness. So coming up after the break, I'm going to talk about the records I grabbed, my experience, how it compares to other record shows I've been to, what it was like being back in New York City after a decade. They did miss me, spoiler alert, but all that and more. Cue that lever. Let's go. Shoryuken! All right, buddies. What a great time I had up in New York at the WFMU show, and the surrounding accoutrement, is that the word? The surrounding events and the spectacle that is New York City. It's been over a decade. I haven't been to New York City since 2010. It's been a hot minute, as they say. Been fixing to go back for a long time. Obviously, world pandemics and job changes and all kinds of things kind of get in the way. Life gets in the way. But fortunately, through the vinyl community, I've got to know some great people and ran into some great people. We'll get into that in a second at the show. But first, got to give a shout out to my host with the most. That was Arnaldo. The channel is Fidelios_frequency. Arnaldo was kind enough to put me up in his place and give me tour / chauffeur / subway guide to navigate all that is New York City proper and to navigate this fair. I'd never been to this particular record show. My understanding was it went dark for a couple of years following the pandemic. I believe last year, 2023, was the first year they had it since the pandemic. They had it in a different venue, a larger venue from what I'm told, and we'll kind of get into that than where they had it this year. This was at, I believe, the Metropolitan Pavilion, I think it was called. And it was something. It was something. I've been to record shows in Austin several times. I've been to record shows in Chicago several times. Obviously, my local show in St. Louis is like 6 times a year, probably a little too much. In a year, 6 times. It's almost every other month. It's great if you love records. It's not great if you love saving money. And then, obviously, the Metro East Record Show, Travis Foley, shout out to you, sir, for organizing that. That one, I believe, is quarterly. So I've been to my fair share of record shows. And I got to say, New York, WFMU came correct. WFMU is a radio station, not a record station. I guess they play records. And they were actually selling records to fundraise. I believe this is a large event put on to be a fundraiser for the radio station. They did a fine job playing host. It's very easy to get your early bird ticket, which I did. Early bird was on Friday. It was a 2-day event, Friday, Saturday. And early bird really consisted of from 12 to 3, which is a little bit different than I was used to in other environments. Namely, one, it started very late. It started at noon. And even Arnaldo and I were kind of running late a little bit. Rode the subway for the first time. So that was an event in and of itself. It's a whole other video to share maybe one day. But when we got there, we were about 12:20. And the line was outside the building, pretty significant. And again, this is an early bird, so you pay up to get in early, in theory, to get first dibs at a lot of these dealers. And it was a line. So fortunately, a little crafty maneuver, a little ninja jiu-jitsu, some New York jiu-jitsu, I'll call it, from Arnaldo. And we got in a little bit quicker.
You're a real crumb bum. Put that on camera.
And it was something. It was wall to wall. And when I say wall to wall, I mean literally wall to wall records from dealers and vendors from out of the country, from New York proper, from different parts of the country. And they had all kinds of things. And one thing that was really obvious from the get-go was they had a lot more European imports than I was accustomed to seeing at other shows. Austin has some, Chicago has some, but this was like probably the most of any show I've been to. And then they also had a lot of things that caught my eye, particularly wall records were great. a lot of hip hop, and that was something that I kind of made a conscious choice to lean into, because usually you can kind of get a feel when you go to a different record show in a different city of kind of what the strong suits are. So getting my bearings first and foremost is real important. So when you go into these things, and I'll say WFMU had like a map that showed the dealers and the table assignments, and it was very, I mean, of any of the record shows I've been to, it was the first one I had something that was so detailed. And I guess, you know, if you want to develop strategies of where to go first, I know Arnaldo and I were kind of looking at it on the subway coming in. It's great. But I generally kind of do these things by feel, and like you can know where you want to start, and oh, there's this dealer I know from Austin or what have you, and that's helpful. But really, the only advice I'd ever give anyone is just pick a spot and just start going.
Thanks for the tip.
Well, I ran into a lot of great vinyl community members. I hope I do not miss anybody, and if I do,
Don't sue me.
the first person I'm going to talk about is Mr. Jefferson. Not George Jefferson, not Wheezy, but the channel is Tubelandia Jefferson, and we had actually dinner with Jefferson both nights. He actually gave me a t-shirt too. He was kind enough to ask my size ahead of time. It's a lovely t-shirt. Unfortunately, it's in the wash right now, so I'm just flexing the sticker, and he had a tote bag, which is down in my record room. Great collector, great guy, great guy to spend time with, which is always fun. So Jefferson was there. Let's see, who's the roll call? Obviously Arnaldo. Thinking of Dom, Seeking a Thread was there. Dave, Local Bandography, who I just saw on his home turf less than a month ago in Charlotte at the Noble Records event. The video is here. Let's see, who else was there? I'll call him Jazz Joe. Because I see him on the Jazz Bums. He actually came up and said hi, and it was great to meet him in the flesh. Who else? Felipe Jazz Bum. Felipe is a double Jazz Bum. It's a double header. Now I've officially met all the Jazz Bums. I met Jazz Bum Chris in Austin, and then Felipe flew in for like a quick one. He just came in Saturday and got to see him. And then Jazz Bum Mike was there. I interacted with him briefly. Wish I could have spent more time with those guys. It's just like a fast weekend, right? Wally, who I don't believe makes videos, but came up to me, a viewer of the channel, of Surface Noise, our weekly live stream. I think he listens to the podcast too, Vinyl Community Podcast. Check your local listings. So he came up, got to interact with him. Mike, Notes and Tones, got to shake hands with Mike. There's so many. Peter Parker, Mad Vinyl NYC, from over in the Queens area. Got to meet him. Gosh, I mean, it was just like vinyl community on steroids. I saw Michael Fremer. I don't know Michael Fremer, so I didn't want to go up to him and kind of be that guy. But I saw Michael Fremer there. I saw a lot of faces, familiar faces that I knew and didn't know. Lance from Permanent Records probably doesn't even know me. I've talked to him briefly a couple times in Austin, and here he was there. So anyway, a lot of people. And that's one thing I want to bring home is so many people. This place was packed, shoulder to shoulder. The way they kind of had the tables laid out, pretty, for the most part, pretty easy to move and navigate through. But there are a couple aisles that were kind of prohibitive because you just literally had to sandwich your way. It was like sardines, right, in a can. So many people. From what I was told from the guys who went last year, this was not as expanse of the venue that they used last year, which I probably would have liked. Reminded me a little bit more of Austin, it sounds like, the way they described it. This was more just kind of like your typical kind of like convention, I may say convention center, but just like a banquet hall type situation. They had food and drink, and they really came correct. Billy's record salon was there. I'll give a little spoiler. We tried going to a shop the next day, and the guy was closed.
You blew it!
So I don't know what that was about, Billy, but you're a great hugger. I'll give you marks on hugging, and that's a good guy. Anyway, it's so great to meet up with people in the flesh because, you know, like these relationships are very casual, and you exchange messages, and, you know, the Jazz Bums have contributed to the podcast and all kinds of things, right? But then you get to meet people, man, it's the jazz. It's literally probably outside of the records, it's like 1A, the records that you find and bring home, and then 1B is just getting to meet a lot of really nice people. What did I get from this record fair? I'm going to show you a couple of choice cuts, and then I'm going to do a flip at the end. And then, like I said, I'm probably going to do a separate video talking about the items I picked up at the shops. We didn't actually go to any stores until Saturday. So I will kind of get into it in another video, but enough jibber jabber, Concert Buddy. God, you've got diarrhea of the mouth. Let me show you the records right now.
Shut up!
Now, if you've been watching my channel for any length of time, hopefully you've picked up I love 90s vinyl and 90s music. It's kind of why I came up with like 80s and 90s music. And if you've been collecting records for any length of time, you probably know that they didn't press a lot of albums on vinyl in the 90s. It's kind of winding down in favor of CDs, the iPod, and streaming and digital MP3s and all that stuff on the horizon. So this album, this is Marky Mark and the Funky Bunch. Don't laugh. Don't laugh. I know you're laughing. You probably have turned the video off at this point and you're like, this guy's not a serious record collector. This is their album, Music for the People. This never came out on vinyl in the States. This is a European press. Back in the Austin show, I picked up the single, the 12-inch for Good Vibrations, #1 hit. This is on Interscope, Jimmy Iovine's label. And of course, founded by Marky Mark himself, Mark Wahlberg, the famous thespian. Anyway, I didn't even know that this existed on vinyl. I had a feeling. It's not something that I was like, oh, Discogs want list. But literally, the vendors, like I was talking about earlier, so many vendors came with European and out-of-country releases that I saw this for $15, a big $15. And I cannot tell you, this is one of the things that I was like, this is awesome. This is what makes it fun to be a record collector, is finding things like this that you didn't know existed. And this isn't like my favorite hip-hop record. This isn't like the greatest hip-hop record of all time, far from it. But fun, nostalgia, good vibrations, cool like Sunkiss or whatever. It just takes you back, right? Like it's the nostalgia, it's the connection to an easier time. So anyway, Marky Mark and Funky Bunch, Music for the People, $15. Come on, all day long. All right, Concert Buddy, you show this record often on your channel, or have, and that is Pieces of a Man, the classic from Gil Scott-Heron. Now, I'm showing you this one because I've been pursuing a first pressing of this album for a long time. Yeah, I could go eBay, yeah, I could go Discogs, but I wanted to find one in the flesh, and I got real close. My St. Louis show a couple months ago, I got first reissue that came on Flying Dutchman, the white label. Now, this label is multicolored. That is indicative of the first pressing. I think there's like 2 different or maybe 3 different first pressings, but you can tell because they come on this multicolor. I was a little confused because when my local show had it, like I said a couple months ago, the label was white, and I got real excited. Oh, it was a white label promo. Then I did my research and found out it was the first reissue, and I got it for a really good deal. So I thought that'll be a great placeholder until inevitably I run in mano a mano. First pressing. Quick story on this. The vendor had this record there from San Francisco, a couple dudes, and every time I came by their table, they were like always busy. They're talking to the customers, or like play testing things on like one of those little Hamburglar, the Hamburglar record player thing. I have one of those actually. But anyway, so I could never get their attention. They had it on like one of the little plastic walls, like the little prop wall that a lot of vendors will put up. I'm like, good guy, I just want to talk to this guy about this record. Take a look at it. Maybe it's all scratched up. I saw one in Seattle at Daybreak Records, and they wanted, I think, $300 or $400, and it was not A+, right? Like, it was fine, but just wasn't for me. This was considerably less, but I wanted to put hands on it. I wanted to put eyes on it. So first day comes, I just can't get this guy's attention. I'm like the ugly person at the bar. I can't get the bartender's attention. That's probably indicative of my life. I'm the ugly person at the bar. But I was like, you know what? I guess this is not meant to be. Plus, I'll try to do it tomorrow. Saturday comes, same kind of thing. I mean, this table is overrun with this guy talking, or these guys talking to people. So finally, I make a couple passes through. Finally, get their attention. Hey, can I see this? Cool. See it. Vinyl's in really great shape. The jacket had a little bit of peeling on the back because it's kind of like a laminate cover. You kind of see a little bit of that peeling there. So maybe if I'm being authentic, let's call it VG minus. I wouldn't call it VG plus on the jacket. I don't know if I want to call it VG, but somewhere in between, call it VG minus. But anyway, so happy I got this. Got it for roughly 25%-ish what they're asking. So again, second day, hopefully we're looking to move product. That was also part of my strategy. It's like, hey, maybe I can make some deals, wheeling and dealing. So finally, I got a first press, Pieces of a Man. What's up? So in New York, and I kind of talked about this a little bit earlier, it became very clear that there are going to be a lot of hip-hop records at this show, and that excited me because I love collecting old school hip-hop. And this record is Eric B. and Rakim, Paid in Full. It's yellow label, first press. It's funny because I finally saw this locally not too long ago at like an antique mall, or like one of those kind of like foo-foo antique malls. And the vendor wanted $75, which isn't terrible, isn't great for what the Discogs median seems to be. To the point where I actually went back after I saw it. I went back, I think a day or two later, check it out because I really wanted to put eyes on it. And I decided not to get it. Had like a scratch on it that probably would have played fine. But once you start paying a little bit more for these records, you don't want to just buy something that might sound good. You want something that will sound good. So, especially if you put it on a Soundburger, that little tiny record player I was talking about earlier. I digress, or I digest because it's a burger. Paid in Full. Anyway, saw a couple vendors had it, but this was a song for $35. I think I might even got it for $30. I don't remember exactly. I might have a little haggle. Haggle's good for you. So to go from $75 in my local area to $35 just by taking the silver burger, really great shape. I've been picking up a lot more of this older hip hop of late, just because I think it's going to be like metal, if it's not already. It's like finding good metal records in good shape can be hard to do. So when one of those collections comes up, you got to pounce like a tiger. Same thing with hip hop. If you see things that you don't see, which I'll show Arnaldo here in a second, usually that's the time to go. And especially if I could get it for hell less than half when I saw it in St. Louis, done deal, Holyfield. Boom.
This is amazing.
So some more hip hop for you. This is Craig Mack, Project Funk the World. It's on Bad Boy label, which the founder, Mr. Combs, is under a lot of scrutiny lately. I'm not even going to touch that one. I'm not even going to attempt to even tell that story. But Craig Mack, the big hit here, Flavor in Your Ear. I got the brand new Flavor in Your Ear in shrink with hype. I think this has only been repressed once, so you have an original and one repress. I would never find this in my area. Maybe if a DJ gave it up or something. Maybe in Chicago could probably find it. But dude, this is the time. You see things you don't see again. The old Mike Wolf American Pickers thing. That's the time to strike. And the dealer gave me a nice price on this. And you even have like the old parental advisory. I'll show one here in a second. It has an even older parental advisory. But this is the kind of stuff that makes traveling far and wide worth it, is picking up things that you want and things you never see and things in condition like this. So awesome.
It's exciting.
This was one of my favorite things I picked up. I promised a old parental advisory sticker. Hopefully you can see it here. This is like those first parental advisory stickers. These songs contain explicit lyrics. Goes back to like the Tipper Gore, Dee Snider hearings that they had about parental advisory on music for youths. Anyway, straight out of Compton, this is a landmark, historic hip-hop album on that Ruthless label. Boom Boom, Jerry Heller, Eazy-E, Priority Records, all those guys. And then you have like the classic lineup, obviously Easy, Dre, Yella, MC Ren, Cube, and I know I'm missing one. I can't even see who that guy is upside down, but anyway. So excited to add this because I've never seen a first press. I've seen a lot. This has been repressed several times, but I've never seen one in the flesh. And I went into this show looking for a record that was also anti-police. The Offspring's original record has a song on there called Kill the President. That's not really that counts, I guess, but it's a crazy expensive record. Similarly, obviously, you've got F the Police and all that kind of stuff, right? Straight out of Compton. Man, I can't get over how excited I was to pull this from the bin. I think this vendor was from Pittsburgh, Mind's Eye or something like that. Super easy to work with. He had a price on it. I offered 20% off, and he thought about it for a second and said, boom, cash is king. Always bring cash to these shows. And I was pumped. This is like one of my top 3 that I pulled from this show. Straight out of Compton. Crazy mother effer like CONCERTBUDDIE. Yo. Oh, so white of me.
Am I really doing good?
Last one I'll show for the video before the big flip is probably the biggest buy I had, and that is the first record from Nirvana. This is Bleach. This is the black copy. So the quick story on this, they spent $600 to record their first album, and for $600 now you can buy a copy. That's just the ironic part. But no, they recorded it. They were on Sub Pop at the time, and the first 1,000 pressings were on white vinyl. And there was a vendor, there was a dealer who I've talked to in N.W.A before in Austin who had a copy of the white vinyl, $3,000.
Let me guess, you must be fucking rich.
Yeah, it's cool.
Not a, I mean, it's a crazy price in a lot of ways, but it's what the market is kind of suggesting could be the price. Could you negotiate down? Possibly, I don't know. I did put hands on it, I did put eyes on it, I did look at it. Didn't have any of the inserts. You know, if you're gonna pay premium dollar for something like that, I didn't even have $3,000 on me. I'm just gonna keep it real. This would have been something I would have had to poop up banker, hello. No, but if I wanted to get it, it wasn't outside the realm of possibility. I just would have had to move off a lot of records when I got back. So I did have like those kind of illusions of grandeur in my mind, all the while knowing that there's this copy, and this copy is the black one. Same plates as the white one, but they did 2,000 of these. Inserts, the posters, hit or miss. They weren't exactly given in every copy. So I found this one at WFMU. I had actually, if you go back to my Noble Records video, and I'll link it here, that was the record I had kind of targeted I'd get at Noble. He had the same thing, market fair price, and then I pivoted at the last second and got that Zombies record. So this one was still on my want list, but I also knew at that time at Noble I could probably find it again. Literally 3 weeks, 4 weeks later, it's in New York, it's waiting for me, market price. This gentleman was very easy to work with. I got it for 25% off a market price. You can do the math. And so I was very happy. In fact, it was cheaper than Travis. I know you're watching this, cheaper than you bought it, out from under me. At Gold Pan that time. But anyway, got it cheaper than you, fool. But happy, super pumped. Because it's one of those records I've been looking to add to my collection for some time. Maybe I'll get the white copy at some point, but that's a lot of shekels. $3,000. I mean, that's some serious stuff. And that's like me taking a lot of my biggest records and moving off of them. But don't think for a second, buddy, is that I didn't consider it. I really did consider it. But you know, just talking about the math, I mean, even if I brought to trade or sell or whatever, if I brought 10 $200 records, I'm still not even, I'm in the ballpark, but I don't think I could have got it for $2,000 from that guy. But anyway, Mike, I think is his name. Anyway, happy to pick this up finally. This did not come with the poster, but it did come with the Sub Pop t-shirt mailing thing. So I was happy about that. And really nice condition. Like I said, the guy was easy to work with. The bell of the ball for the WFMU Fair for me.
I'm so perplexed by what the hell happened here.
All right, and now check out the flip for the other records I picked up. These are all original pressings. That's it, buddies. WFMU, boom, had a great time, great people, great records, great hang. I would recommend this record show to anyone who's in the metro area or not too far away from like Connecticut or other states like that. Come on in. The water's warm. You will definitely find a lot of great records, a lot of great dealers, but I appreciate all the support. As always, buddies, until next time. When you get the chance to go to record shows, your local record shops, antique malls, what have you, when you get the chance, just spin it. See you soon.
Well, well, well. How the turntables Well, we out of time.